Hi there and welcome to today's Kingston Library Teen ebook review. I'm Fran and today the book I'm going to be talking about is Fly on the Wall by Lockhart. When I was a teen I thoroughly loved all of Lockhart's books. Everything she's ever written I think I've really enjoyed, and a lot of her books I just reread and reread obsessively. There's Fly on the Wall. This one's available on Overdrive as an ebook. Her most well-known book is probably We Were Liars, which is more of a mystery drama, which is a great one as well. But if you're more into your sort of typical teen drama, warm-hearted stories, you'd be best going for a book like We Were Liars or Dramarama or the Ruby Oliver series. So I'd really recommend anything you can get your hands on by Lockhart. She's a really underrated author, probably better known in America, but anything you can get your hands on by her I'm sure you'll love, because her books are always really inclusive. They always tell stories that are not really told in most other teen books, like stories about people of colour, mental illness, people who are not straight, and lots of other things like that. So I'd really recommend that. This book, Fly on the Wall, is available on Overdrive, as I said, and it also fits into a few of the categories of the Teen Reading Challenge. It fits into category 5, which is a book with a blue cover, number 9, which is a book set in a different country, and number 14, which is a book set in a school. So I probably recommend this book for maybe ages 14 or 15 and above, not because of anything potentially too violent or language based. It's really not violent or anything like that. You will see as I'm describing the plot why this age rating might be there, but yeah, I'd maybe recommend it for ages 14, 15 and above, but use your own judgment really on that one. The general plot of this is it's about a girl named Gretchen Yee who goes to a prestigious Manhattan art school. It's a very small school, very few pupils, and so she has a very small, not close-knit, but very condensed group of people. And her issue is that she doesn't really fit in with them. They're all very distinctive, very artistic, creative people, and while she is artistic and creative, she likes to be kind of invisible, and she likes to be just sort of nerdy and enjoy her own sort of nerdy things and not have to feel like she has to conform to any sort of other ideal. And it's just she doesn't understand the behaviour of the boys in her class. They act like typical teenage boys. They can be kind of rowdy, make inappropriate jokes or comments, and she just doesn't really understand them. So one day, errantly, she says to her best friend Katja, "I wish I could be a fly on the wall of the boys' locker room, just to see what they're like when there are no girls around." And lo and behold, the very next day, Gretchen wakes up and she's a fly on the wall of the boys' locker room, their changing room at the school. Luckily her parents are both away for the week, but yes, she spends a week as a fly in the boys' changing room at her school, and that is the plot of the book. She spends the book as a fly, and she doesn't know how she's turned into a fly or what's made her turn into a fly. She has a few different theories, but it's never really explained, and that's I kind of like that. It's not about what mystical power has changed her into a fly or what changes her back. It's just something that happens, and I feel like it's really interesting, that this plot, because it's not something you would typically think of if you think about teen books, and it's a really great book that goes into sort of the psyche of teenage boys as well, because Gretchen does see what they act like without girls around, and she sees into the lives of all these boys and boys in other classes who she never met before, and all this hidden, secretive stuff that goes on behind closed doors. And she sees some things like she gets to know people more, people who she didn't like very much, whom she grows to respect, or people she did like who she grows to not respect, and all the while discovering things about boys and men's bodies that she didn't know before. And I think that's where the age rating I mentioned before comes into it. She goes into length talking about understanding the opposite sex in a certain way. And it's just brilliant because it's so different, and it goes into how everyone's different and all bodies are different, and you know, people are, you know, could have a beautiful face but then have really ugly feet, or you know, other things, and how she grows to realise that all bodies are beautiful. And I think that's such a great message for teens to be reading. It's really funny, and it's funny, it's heartwarming, it can be sad in places because well, I won't spoil it, but you know, she notices bullying going around and homophobia and stuff like that, and she sort of, at the end of the week, once she becomes a girl again, she decides to, you know, be better, and she decides to treat all these boys better. Now she understands them a bit better, and it's an excellent book. Heartily recommend it. Fly on the Wall by Lockhart. If this book doesn't really sound like your cup of tea, if it sounds a bit graphic, or if it's really not something you'd like to read, I'd heartily recommend anything else that you can get your hands on by Lockhart. Her book Dramarama is excellent. The Ruby Oliver series is great. If you want a really sort of ballsy, in-your-face feminist book, you could read The Disreputable History of Frankie Landau Banks, which is great, or her most well-known book, as I mentioned before, We Were Liars, which is a really really gripping mystery. So yes, that is our review for today, Fly on the Wall. I hope you enjoyed this review, and hopefully see you next week for some more. Thank you. Bye.